What's this? A letter for me.
Welcome to another episode of Through the Mail Thursdays with Remember the Great Sports. This is going to be a special Independence Day, 4th of July video. And how do I know that this is going to be special? Well, two of the gentlemen that I received back that I'm going to share with you actually put their return address on the envelope. The third gentleman, I believe, this is postmarked from Northern Virginia, so I think I know who it is, and it is a great American general. And I'm going to save him for last. But I'm going to jump right into this because I'm super excited. This first one is postmarked from Colonel Charles McGee, who is Charles McGee. Charles McGee. On 1, 2, and 3. I did not expect him to sign the index cards. However, he did. I'm very happy that he did so. And as you can see, as it is inscribed at the top on the index card, Colonel Charles McGee of the Tuskegee Airmen. So as you can see, as he inscribed, retired Colonel of the United States Air Force, Charles McGee. He flew in 409 combat missions in World War II, in the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. I can't even imagine the things that this gentleman has seen in his lifetime. As of me shooting this video, Mr. McGee is 99 years young. He will celebrate his 100th birthday on December 7th of this year, in 2019. And I was able to get this trading card. Shout out to the beholder. Thank you very much for making the trade to get this done. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Mr. McGee, and we're going to talk about a little bit about his profile here, just like I do a sports athlete. In 1942, Colonel McGee was a student, an engineering student at the University of Illinois. He enlisted in the United States Army on October 26, 1942, and he became part of what is now known as the Tuskegee Airmen, earning his pilot's wings. By 1944, he was stationed in Italy with the 302nd Fighter Squadron, as he listed here, 302 Fighter Squadron, World War II. By the time of World War II had ended, he was promoted to captain and had flew in 137 combat missions. So, I'm taking this information from his Wikipedia page. When the Korean War broke out, he flew the P-51 Mustang in the 67th Fighter Bomb Squadron, 67 FBS, in Korea, completing 100 missions. By the end of the Korean War, he was promoted to a major. During Vietnam, Lieutenant Colonel, at this point, McGee flew 172 combat missions in a McDonnell RF-4 aircraft, recon aircraft. I'm trying to see what the 16th TRS, Tactical Reconnaissance Squadron. So the 16th TRS is Tactical Reconnaissance Squadron. So very, very, very awesome. Colonel McGee retired January 31st, 1973. He ended his military career with 6,308 flying hours. Wow. That is amazing. I was so happy to get this returned to me through the mail. Thank you very, very much, Mr. McGee. This is unbelievable that you were able to sign these for me and return them. I really appreciate it. Keeping the same pace, this next one is actually postmarked with return address from Mr. Eugene Richardson, who signed 1 and 2, again, of the Panini Americana set, Heroes and Legends. Eugene Richardson, also a Tuskegee Airman, was born in Cleveland, Ohio in 1925. World War II provided the opportunity for Eugene to realize his dream of becoming a pilot. At the age of 17, he passed an exam and became a pre-aviation cadet in the spring of 1943. He was inducted into the Army Air Corps in October 1943. He had basic Army training at Keesler Field, Mississippi. He went to Tuskegee in January 1944 and completed flight training in March of 1945 and was commissioned as a second lieutenant, class 45A at the Tuskegee Army Airfield, Alabama. He then went to Walterboro Army Airfield, South Carolina for combat training in April 1945. There he flew the P-40 and the P-47 type aircraft. The war with Germany ended a few weeks after his graduation before he had a chance to fly a combat mission. He was discharged in June 1946. Being a Tuskegee Airman was a highly coveted achievement in the segregated American life of the 1940s, and for Richardson, it fulfilled an ambition he had held since childhood. In quotes, "For me it was simply a dream come true," he said. "Ever since I was a little kid, I was interested in airplanes. My dream was to fly an airplane, and the war came along and made it possible." After returning to civilian life in Philadelphia, Richardson enrolled in Temple University on the GI Bill. After a career that ranged from selling cemetery lots to working in a Philadelphia department store, he landed in the field of education, where he would eventually serve as an assistant principal and as a principal, retiring from more than 30-year career as an administrator in the Philadelphia school system. After his retirement in education, at this point he had received his doctorate in education, Mr. Richardson founded a nonprofit organization until his retirement. Adding another Tuskegee Airman to my collection with these Panini Americana cards is just awesome. Thank you, Mr. Richardson, or excuse me, Dr. Richardson, for signing these. I really appreciate you adding these to my collection. Alright, this final one is postmarked from Northern Virginia, and if I am correct, it is indeed who I think it is. And to finish off this special 4th of July video, it is retired 4-star General and Secretary of Defense Colin Powell on a 1991 Bowman baseball card. Colin Powell, for those that are too young to remember who General Powell is. General Powell, during his career as rank of 4-star General and being the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest position in the Department of Defense, he oversaw 28 crises, the most notably being Desert Storm. This is, again, a great American leader, and this is somebody that has risen to the top of, you know, American legend, I guess you would say, throughout our country. If you grew up in the 1990s during the Gulf War, which I have shared in my previous video, I shared this last 4th of July actually, that my father served in the Persian Gulf War. He left when it was Desert Shield and he returned when it was Desert Storm. I was only 10 years old when he served. So I didn't completely understand what was going on, to be honest with you, as a young man. However, I knew that General Powell was the one that was very often seen on TV. I remember that as a child, seeing Colin Powell. And at that time in our country, you know, to explain this to the younger generations that view my channel, American pride really took over this country. I remember having so much support from my teachers at my elementary school and so on and so forth, you know, and it really felt like we were behind one another during this crisis. After living through this time of my life, I felt that we were more unified as a country back then than we ever are now. I feel that the war that we're fighting now is not viewed as important as the previous wars that have been fought. So in closing, I hope you take a step back on this 4th of July, on this monumental day that is so important, and take a step back and look at these true heroes that fought for our country, that put their lives on the line multiple times so we could have the freedoms that we have. I feel that sometimes the 4th of July loses sight of what it's really about, and that is us declaring our independence as a country, the birth of our country, more or less. It's not about how many fireworks you can shoot off, or, you know, how many barbecues you can attend, or how many beers you can drink. It's about celebrating these heroes, these living heroes, actually. Not just the living heroes, but the heroes that we have lost. It's celebrating the people that we still have to celebrate and the people that we've lost. I want to thank every veteran that views this channel. I want to thank every veteran that may not view this channel. I salute you. I thank you very much for doing what you did and the sacrifices that you have made for this country, the sacrifices that you've made for your families to serve your country. Thank you very much for everything that you have done, and enjoy this 4th of July, our Independence Day. Thank you.